So at what age does a man peak? 18? 25? 34? What's your guess? Write it down, because down in the comments below, I want to hear what you think the number is before I reveal what the research said. All right, you got it? So the answer is... So the answer is 7. No, not the age 7. 7 different areas we're going to look at because the question is incomplete. What are we actually measuring? Are we talking peak physical strength, peak endurance and cardiovascular health, sexual function and libido, cognitive ability and intelligence, emotional maturity and resilience, career achievement? And is there an age? There is, in which we discover purpose and meaning. So for physical strength, no surprise here, between the ages of 25 and 30 is when, in general, men reach their peak strength. But there is a caveat to this, and this assumes that the man is untrained, meaning that he's not working out, he's not taking care of himself. But on the studies they did of men who master training, who do regular intensive resistance training from 2 to 4 times a week, daily walking, and consume a diet that's high in protein, maintain a low body fat, and get plenty of sleep, well, these guys can maintain 90 to 99% of their peak strength into their 50s. And if you've been going to the gym enough, you've seen this. Guys in their 60s that can outperform men in their 20s. So the revelation here, gentlemen, is that yes, untrained physical strength has a peak point in our late 20s, but if you put in the work, you can maintain this into your 60s and even 70s. Next up, we've got endurance and cardiovascular health, and for this one, we're going to be measuring VO2. Now, your VO2 max stands for the volume of oxygen. Specifically, it measures the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. Now, for an untrained individual, we're going to see the peak between the ages of 20 and 30. Now, if you're engaged in endurance sports like running or cycling, you can see this extend out into your 40s. And that's one of the reasons why we see so many great cyclists still continue into their late 30s and win events like the Tour de France. But those are all measurements of performance. What about health and longevity? Well, it turns out if we're measuring for that, studies have shown that cardiovascular health peaks in your 50s and even 60s. Now, in general, if you want good cardio, you want to have at least 3 to 5 days a week in which you work on your cardio with 1 to 2 interval days. And similar to strength training, consistency is key here. The revelation? Most of us don't hit our cardiovascular peak till midlife, and through consistent training, we can pretty much maintain that peak into our 60s. Next up, let's talk about peak performance when it comes to sexual function and libido. So as many of you guys know, when it comes to testosterone production, you are at your max from ages 18 to 25. So when it comes to hormones, you could argue this is where you have peak performance. However, for any of us experienced in sex, you know it's a lot more than just hormones. Yeah, there's confidence, knowing what you're doing. Relationship intimacy, how well do you know and trust your partner? The emotional connection of being somebody that you really connect with, someone that you deeply love. Gents, taking all those factors into account, a lot of guys actually don't reach their peak here till they're in their 40s and 50s. Now, if you're watching this video and thinking, Antonio, I've already passed my peak. Man, I'm dealing with ED. Well, gents, if that's you, then I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, Rougiette Ready. So Rougiette Ready is a 3-in-1 ED treatment that works in as little as 15 minutes, and it stays active for up to 36 hours. Rougiette Ready combines the active ingredients in both major ED meds, plus apomorphine, which helps prime your brain for arousal. So basically what you're getting is both the physical blood flow and the mental boost. Another great thing about Rougiette Ready, it's sublingual. Basically, it dissolves under the tongue, so it hits your bloodstream faster than traditional pills. There's no waiting around wondering when it's going to kick in. Now, getting started, guys, is simple. You'll fill out a quick medical questionnaire online. A licensed doctor is going to review it within 24 to 48 hours, and if prescribed, Rougiette Ready ships right to your door in discreet packaging. So to get started, gents, go to Rougiette, RUGIET.com/RMRS. Gents, take your confidence back when you use this link. You save 15%. Go check them out. Again, that's Rougiette.com/RMRS. Rougiette prescriptions are compounded medications available only if prescribed after an online consultation with a licensed clinician. Compounded drugs can be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and have not been reviewed by the FDA for safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing. Individual results may vary. Full safety information is available at Rougiette.com. Next up, cognitive ability and intelligence. When does a man peak? So there's been a lot of research on this one, and it really depends on what you are measuring for. When it comes to processing speed, the peak ages, 18 to 25. Working memory, this seems to peak in your mid-20s. Social intelligence and emotional reading, your 30s and 40s. Verbal intelligence and vocabulary, 50s and 60s. General knowledge and wisdom, 60 plus. Now, the next question you may have is, how do you train the brain? How do we push back that mental prime so you're hitting it in your 50s and 60s? Well, one of the keys here, as you can imagine, is continuous learning. Not only reading, but being active. Learning languages and teaching are some of the best things you can do to maintain a sharp mind. Another way to sharpen the mind is to engage with others. Social connections, maintain those, because when you're having to talk with other people, especially about topics you're not necessarily familiar with, you need to maintain your wits and your thinking on your feet. And this is why it's so important for older men to maintain community. And of course, let's not forget about physical health. Everything we talked about earlier, strength training, cardiovascular, if you're doing that, you are going to be nourishing your mind. Next up, let's talk about emotional maturity and resilience. Now, what I loved about this one is there was tons of research from around the world, and consistently it showed that we don't even start to reach our peak till we're in our mid-40s, but for a lot of us, this continues into our 70s. In fact, our ability to regulate our emotions, to be resilient, to have emotional maturity, for many people, this doesn't even reach its highest point till they're in their mid-70s. Now, where does happiness fall into this? I remember seeing this chart years ago, but check out at the points in which people are happy in their lives. It starts off really strong, and then it plunges in our teenage years, in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and then interestingly, in our 50s and 60s, it starts shooting back up. It's this U shape. My point, if you're watching this and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and things are tough now, guess what, guys? They are going to get better. And it's not necessarily because the conditions are going to change, but your ability to deal with conditions, your interpretation of what's happening to you, as you get wiser, as you start to see life for what it really is. Well, gents, the data, the studies clearly show happiness, whether we like it or not, is probably in our future. Next up, let's talk about career and achievement. When do most men peak here? Well, if you're big into business or you watch the news, it seems like they're always talking about that whiz kid out of Silicon Valley that built the next billion-dollar business. Well, gents, I'm here to tell you, if you do the research, those are still anomalies. The majority of men, including me, we really don't start to hit our peak till we're in our 40s and 50s. In fact, when it comes to executive careers, when it comes to careers that really require a lot of thought, you'll find a lot of guys don't reach their peak until they're in their mid-60s. Now, when it comes to creative fields, we do see those numbers all over the board, and we do see a lot of people in their 20s and 30s reaching their peak at that point. But when it comes to strategic thinking, when it comes to leadership, mentoring, this can go into your 70s. But when I ran all the numbers, consistently across the board, most men don't reach their highest point when it comes to economic earning or it comes to leadership till they're past the age of 46. And now let's talk purpose and meaning. When is a man most aligned with this? Well, no surprise here, this peaks usually past the age of 50, sometimes even into a man's 80s. That being said, if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, I think it's a huge advantage to identify your purpose. And if you're interested in diving deeper into something like that, guys, I've got a whole video for you here. This is one of my deeper videos. I talk about purpose. I talk about a lot of other things that I think goes into a complete life. So go check it out, guys. Boom. This video right here. It's a good one. Didn't get crazy views, but I think it is a solid video. So yeah, don't let YouTube gatekeep this video from you. Go check it out. Boom, right here.